Good morning all of you. We have already completed first unit and again in second unit we have completed textual lesson which is Jawaharlal Nehru's letter to his daughter Indira Gandhi. Today I am going to start the prose part of unit 2. The title of the poem is Bosom Friend. Okay, and it is written by Hira Bansade. Hira Bansade. It is in a separate textbook, not in Infotech English, Individual and Society, which is there for you in the curriculum for non-detailed reading. Non-detailed reading. Before we go into Bosom Friend, I will give you a brief recap of my first hour. What we have done in my first lecture, right? It is taken, I started my first lecture from Infotech English. The title of the lesson is Nehru's letter to his daughter Indira Gandhi. In that we had a pre-reading task. In the pre-reading task, I discussed about various means of communication then and now. Then it was the means of communication like postcard, inland letter card and envelopes. Now you know pretty well the means of communication. Also we have discussed in the previous class is email, short messages, Twitter, Facebook and so on, so many. But when it comes to official part of communication, email only allowed as official communication between two ends. And then we have discussed a little about the glossary. Of course, Jawaharlal Nehru used very simple, lucid vocabulary in his letter to his daughter, because at that time Indira was only 13 years old. Indira was only 13 years old. All the words are quite simple and we enjoyed the lucidity of the vocabulary used by Jawaharlal Nehru. And then we simply entered into the letter and that is our lesson. The letter itself is our lesson. This is all what is a quick recap of my lecture 1. Shall we enter into today's lesson? It is Bosom Friend, authored by Hira Bansade. Hira Bansade, born in 1939. She is a contemporary. She is a contemporary means she is still alive. She is the more celebrated women author. She has got so many specialities to be mentioned. She is a Marathi poetess. She writes about Dalit and the plight of Dalit. She discussed vastly in her poems. Not only about Dalit, she also makes a mention of women. In that way, she talks about two types of underprivileged groups in her poetry. First one is about the women who are oppressed and second one is the Dalits who are oppressed in the society and facing many problems. Here you have to remember one thing, not only about others' experiences and exposures, she talks more about her own plight. She belongs to a Comble family. She hails from Meher family, which is also the cult of Bhimrao Ramji Ambedkar. We know very well. Okay, she born into a Mahar family. That's the caste. Comble is the surname of the poetess. She born in a very remote village in the Pune district, but she studied up to her 9th standard. You may laugh at me if I say 9th standard in a very strong word, but it's the greatest privilege of that day. It's the greatest privilege of that day for Dalit, especially for women. It's the greatest privilege. And then she moved to Bombay at the age of 14 plus. They moved to Bombay. Why? Because her father was employed as a municipal employee in the Bombay municipality So the family moved to Bombay. So before 14 to 15 means 14 plus years of age, she could complete an education up to 9th standard with her father's help. Okay. Then after marriage, both her husband and father-in-law also supported her for acquiring higher education, and she was also able to secure a very nice job in the Indian Railways. Why I have mentioned about all these things about the author may be surprising you. Okay, instead of starting the poem immediately, that I will tell you now. When she was born, the family was abandoned in a separate colony of the village. Nobody touches the family. They faced a lot of untouchability in the same town. In the unit 1, I think you have witnessed the problem of the Brahmin and Dukhiya in the Sadgati lesson. There is a nice video. I am sure you might have watched that. How much problems faced by the protagonist in the Sadgati or deliverance. That much problem these people also faced. This is a real story. That was a story written by Munshi Premchand. That is only the difference. Okay? She thought in her childhood, if she was well educated, she will be accepted by the society and there will be no untouchability. No, not happened. Though she completed her 9th standard, people not accepted them and people continuously treating them as untouchables. They are underprivileged. After some time, she thought that if they move from the village to Bombay, what we call Mumbai today, because in a village there will be so many unnecessary traditions and practices which are malpractices, but in a city people will be broad-minded. There will be no question of untouchability and casteism in a city. That was her hope before moving to Mumbai. Though her father was able to fetch a job in the municipality, they were going to settle down in Mumbai. There was no change in the situation. Society continuously treating them as untouchables and of lower caste and Komble and Mahar. That was the plight of the people in those days. That's why I am telling, she could have completed her 9th standard before marriage with the help of her father. And then she thought if she continue her education and achieve higher education, she will be accepted by the society and treated as an equal in the well-established creamy layer of the society. But not happened even after that. The plight continued. The problems, the struggle, the oppression continued in the society. That was all a big story of long, many more problems faced by her. Hurts, wounds in the heart and mind of the girl, of a teenager. Okay. And she thought that she was also economically independent, secure a good job, people treat her properly. No, it is also not happened. Even today it is not happened. Not only that time, in 1950s or so, even today it is not happened. So, I wanted to tell you these things about the author. They are all the milestones she has achieved. Being a woman, being born in a Komble family of untouchables, being a Meher. She faced a lot of troubles in her childhood. She thought that it will be over by something or the other, but not happened anything. Okay, now let's move on to the next slide. What are her contributions to the society? She faced so many troubles, lot of oppression. Many times she wounded very much. Her heart has been broken. Whenever her heart is broken, she started writing a poem. Like that, she has written more than 240 poems, and all the poems are consolidated into 3 books. Two books were published in the year 1994 and another one is published in the year 2001. The titles of the books were Purnima, Fiyaad and Phoenix. I am able to show you the cover pages of her writings. It's Fiyaad in Hindi version, it's Fiyaad in Bengali, Marathi version, it is Phoenix in Hindi. These things I could be able to show you. Even you can read those books if you browse in the net. So, this bosom friend, our lesson, coming to the part of our lesson now, I am narrowing down the information. Our lesson is a part of Fiyaad. Bosom friend, our lesson is a part of Fiyaad. So, you should remember, Fiyaad is a collection of poems written by Hira Bonsade. This was published in the year 1984 and Bosom Friend was a part of that collection. Besides that, besides being a poetess and writing about the oppression of women and the oppression of Dalits, she established an NGO, Samavadini. It is a social and cultural organization and the main objective of the organization is upliftment of the women, Dalit women and empowering the Dalit women. She also added a feminist slant to the Dalit poetry. I have told you already, she has taken two vulnerable groups. One is women, the other is Dalit, and these two things will reflect in her poetry whenever she writes any poem. Besides that, she talks about her own personal experiences. Okay? We can say it's doubly oppressed Dalit women. Dalit is one problem, being woman is another problem. These two problems are addressed by her in her poetry very successfully. Again, as usual, I would like to give you the very important vocabulary used by the poetess in the current poem, The Bosom Friend. I think all of you are thinking already, what is the meaning of bosom? Simply you say, my best friend, my best friend. It's nothing but a best friend, a very close and intimate person to our mind and heart. Bosom means what you call a best friend, nothing other than that. It's what you call a best friend. Friend meaning I need not tell you. Naive, N-A-I-V-E. You should also remember that. Here you have to give two dots. Okay, naive. Lacking judgment and being innocent. Like that of a small child. How a small child is very innocent and irrational in her speech and talk and thoughts. The other was so meek, tender and innocent in her daily activities and routine and her thinking process. You see how innocently she thought that after completing higher education, after gaining a job, moving from a village to a city, she can eradicate the Dalit oppression. See how nicely she thought of all those things which cannot be a realistic thinking. Okay, naive also means very natural without having any kind of inhibitions, pressures, okay, prejudices, thinking in a natural manner. See, I have already told you that she talks about women in her poetry. One such women character mentioned in our poem is Shabari. Shabari was a character in the epic Ramayana and she is a devotee of Rama. That much enough for us. This Shabari waits for Rama till the end of her life. She becomes a very old woman. Okay? Every day she gathers all the fruits from all the trees in the forest. She keeps all the fruits and preserves them for Rama to offer him when he visits her hut, poor hut. And those things are offered to Rama after she has tasted each and every fruit. That much innocent Shabari was. And in this poem, the poetess compared herself with the naive innocence of Shabari. Okay? She don't know even the minimum formalities. We should not offer something to others after we touch and taste it. Okay? That is the innocence of love. This word chutney I need not explain you. because it is a normal word, but they are the native words which are used in the poetry. Koshambir is another word. I simply tell you, chutney means, you know, koshambir means like a curry. Okay, chutney means which is prepared out of coconut. Koshambir means a curry. These words are also used in the poem. They are the native words for Telugu and Tamil. And then smirk. Smirk means a sarcastic smile, looking at others in a humiliating manner, in a teasing manner. Smirk. Okay, ripped out of, releasing something, avoiding something is ripped out. Smirk is a noun. Ripped out is a verb. Chasm is again a noun. Chasm is a noun. Chasm means a gulf, a rift or a gap. I have given 4 meanings there. You can write any number of meanings to understand the meaning of a new word. Okay, so actually very important new words here. Smirk and chasm. Okay, and other things used in the poem, other expressions used in the poem. The mind as large as the sky means very broad mind. Mind is compared with sky. It is a simile. Sky, we say normally, there is no limit, sky is the limit. Just like that, the mind is as large as the sky, and a falling star who is diminishing is called a falling star. And there is no hike in the profile, but they are getting down and decreasing. Touch the sky again is a symbol of elation, happiness, pomp and joy, and filled with confidence. Knocked down, again there is no happiness, no joy. And it is knocked down. Okay, and another word used here is again a native word. It is garlic chutney on coarse bread. Coarse means very rough part of a bread. Not a good type of bread what we eat today, very fine, soft, smooth bread, but very rough bread, coarse bread. And then halwa and basundi are the things which are used by very privileged people in those days. Garlic chutney and coarse bread are the things which are eaten by the poor people in those days. Okay, so these are all the new words used in the poem. Bosom friend. Okay, shall we move on to the poem now? This is the stanza 1 of the poem. Bosom friend. Stanza 1 of the poem, bosom friend. Okay, she started here with a conversation like in a dialogue mode. The entire poem is like a dialogue between the poetess and the bosom friend. It's all a dialogue between the poetess and the bosom friend. Today you came over to dinner for the first time. The bosom friend was from a good family, well-educated family, belongs to an upper caste in the society. Naturally, these people are kept aside, treated as untouchables, our poetess, because of her caste. But for the first time, when she completed her higher education and placed in Indian Railways, equipped with a good central government job, she invited her friend to her house. So that friend was coming for the first time to the house of the poetess. The poetess was very happy because she was able to eliminate all the boundaries of the caste, of the creed and the Dalit kind of a woman. So all these things are erased now. She was able to break all those boundaries. The friend is coming to take a dinner in her house. So that is a symbol of equality. She felt very happy. She is very elated. She is touching the sky in the poem 1. Okay, there are entire poem, there are oscillations. Touching the sky and again falling down like a falling star. Okay, touching the roof. All these things are the expressions used to show her elation and again deprivation. Elation and again deprivation. So today you came over to dinner for the first time. So for the first time, one person from an upper caste is coming to my house for dinner. Okay, you not only came, not that you are coming, it's not simply that you are coming to my house for dinner. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to me. Not only it's just a coming, it means a lot. What is the lot? You forgot your caste. You forgot your caste and you are coming to my house. You forgot about the caste problem in the society. I am from a lower caste, you are from an upper caste, but you are coming to my house for dinner. Okay? Usually, women don't forget the tradition and inequality because naturally men mix in the society. Outside of their house, they mix with all other people equally. They never express and showcase this kind of inequalities. Women are a little bit more superstitious and tradition bound than men. But being a lady, you have broken the boundaries and you are coming to my house, which I could not stop myself from appreciating. I appreciate you very much because being a woman of upper caste, you are coming to my house for taking a dine. You are coming with a mind as large as the sky. As large as the sky. Your mind is very large like the sky. I have shown you in the glossary. As large as the sky means you are very broad-minded. You have narrowed down all the inequalities and coming to my pocket size house. Very small pocket size house. She expressed her inability, her poverty, her oppression in this word, my pocket size house. Like in your house, there is no drawing room, separate kitchen, separate washrooms and other things like bedrooms, play area. All these things in my house, my entire house is only a small room. It's like a pocket size house. But you are coming to my house. It's a thing to celebrate for me. Okay? That is what our poetess feels very happy in the poem 1. The poem Bosom Friend opens with the arrival of the poetess. Bosom Friend for the first time visits her small house of the poetess. Okay, Bonsade's bosom friend came to her house for a dinner. The poetess first thinks that her friend has put away all the caste prejudice before coming to her house. So, she was very, very happy. In the third line of the poem, she expresses the usual attitude of the upper class women to the lower class. They won't forget the tradition and inequality. That's why poetess says her bosom friend as the mind as large as the sky. This entire slide you can use for your notes. So this is the meaning of the first stanza in the poem. The two important things you have to note down here and also use when you are writing your answers are as large as the sky, pocket size house. You shouldn't miss these two expressions given by the poetess in the first stanza summary. This is the summary of stanza 1. So, now we move to the second stanza. So, the second stanza was a very small one. I thought you had ripped out all those caste things. Again she is continuing. Bosom friend was continuing. I thought you have ripped out is again another word. Ripped out means free from. Ripped out means free from, avoiding, banning, all these things. Okay. So here you should remember the word ripped out. All those caste kind of things. You came bridging the chasm. Chasm means a gap, a gulf. A gulf, these are all the meanings for. There is a lot of gap between the haves and have-nots, upper caste and lower caste in the society. And the bosom friend was bridging the gap that divides the upper caste people and the lower caste people, and she is assuring, truly friend, yes friend, it is true. I was really happy. I am so happy. Really I am happy with a naive devotion of Shabari. I am very happy with a kind of, it is not only a friendship between us. I am treating you as a goddess. I am your devotee. Shabari is a great devotee of Lord Rama. With that much respect and honor, she is treating her friend. Okay? And she arranged food in her place. I means here, the bosom friend arranged food in the plate of the bosom friend. Okay? Here it is the I means poetess, and she arranged food in the plate for the bosom. See how nicely, how heartfully we offer food to God. We take bath, we clean our house very neatly, whatever that we can. Okay, whatever that we can. And we take a very nice plate. We arrange things in the very beginning. Okay, we prepare even things with utmost care and respect for offering to God as prasada. In that way, she has prepared everything. She arranged the plate. She is offering the food to her friend. Really, it is a great deal for her. Sometimes they may not have something to eat, but she is doing all those things for her friend who is visiting her house, forgetting her inequalities. So, we see the summary of stanza 2. See the summary of the stanza 2. When the bosom friend came, poetess thought her friend has built a bridge across the Chas. A bridge across the Chas. Here there are two characters. Character 1 is our poetess. Character 2 is the bosom friend. So the two characters in the poem are bosom friend and poetess. The bosom friend is the visitor, guest, and our poetess is the host. Okay. She thought her friend has built a bridge to fill the gap. The gap is created by caste differences. The gap is created by caste differences. It is a man-made gulf or gap. Okay. Hira Bonsade is the poetess. It is a narration of her by herself. Okay. She considers casteism as the chasm. The chasm is casteism, which is very prevalent in those days in the society. Of course, today also it was there. It is there in a hidden manner, but not seen very clearly like then. Okay. The giant chasm on the earth that divides people and narrow down their relations in those days. Okay. The poetess had arranged food on the plate with naive devotion. You should remember this word also very well. With naive devotion, she arranged food in the plate for her friend. The devotion which is held by Shabari for Lord Rama. Okay. In Hindu religious scripts, I have already explained, Shabari is the one who had sincere devotion towards Lord Rama. She was a very innocent character in the mythology and epic of Ramayana. She loves Rama so much with naive devotion. Here the poetess compared herself with Shabari and compared her bosom friend with Lord Rama. Okay. Even though hundreds of other yogis were waiting to receive Rama in the ashrams, Rama went only to Shabari's ashram. Okay. That was the greatness and importance given to Shabari in the mythology. That much importance the poetess has given to her bosom friend. Then what happened? In the next part of the poem, we will see in the next class. Till then, you go through the 2 stanzas of the poem and learn all the glossary and special expressions used in the poem. Okay? Thank you all for bearing with me.